What's happening, gang? Figures. Out in the shop. You guys recently saw the video on the... Really? On the... Farm King. And, this is my nicer one, but it's dead. This is the motor for it, thermally protected motor. And the shaft on the armature here at the end. It's not a wound armature, so shaft on the end is wore down. And I've not done it yet, but I was going through to see what kind of motors I had. I've got one, turns 3,450 RPM, and I put it in there, and it works, but it's not a high enough RPM. So what I plan on doing, I'm going to look these up and see how much they are. If they're not too much, I'm going to go ahead and order one. But something that there's two things that I'm going to try to do. One, I'm going to pull the bushing out, and I can actually take the cap off of either one of these just by getting those little welds off of there. Take the cap off either one of those, so I've got a good bushing, because they're the same size shaft, and use one of these tail caps here, and then I'm going to turn down the existing armature and either weld it up and then turn it down to diameter, or turn it down and make a new bushing out of some oilite bronze that I have. But I'd rather just use one of these caps so that I know I've got a good tail cap bushing, weld it up and turn it down to exactly what it's supposed to be, and try to save that motor. Now this motor still works, but when it gets warm, then it starts hitting the frame on the outside and stops the motor cold. This one turns 3,000 RPM, does not turn fast enough. The one that I've got in there is 3,450, does not turn fast enough, and this one's just a little wimpy 1,550. And one thing that I did have to do with the one that's in there was clockwise or counterclockwise. Well, it needs to be clockwise. Fortunately, the tail cap on this one, the one that's on here, I was able to take the armature out, and the armature was the same length on either side of the centerpiece. Was able to just take the armature out, spin it around, stick it back in to make it a clockwise motor. So that worked out pretty good as far as that goes. It just doesn't have the RPM that I need. So, and none of these shafts or armature bodies are capable of going into this one. So we'll see where we end up with that. And then I've got this big monster here. I don't even know what somebody gave it to me a long time ago. I'll tell you what I used to do with my first Farm King, and that was, in fact, I've still got the bale back here. This white handle here, that white handle, that was on my first one. This is the third one of these I've had, and it's kind of funny because that's the one that I just got off of a scrap trailer, and it's the one that's working great. So got to pay some attention to this one. But anyway, short story long, I'm going to have to do one of two things. One is to do what I did before. I can install that bale on this and then mount another fan right here as a booster to help that fan keep up with the speed. And I did that with that old one for years before the the internal burn chamber melted out of it. But I'd much rather just have the proper motor in there. And like I say, I've got a picture on my phone of, it's an AMSCO motor, of the model number and all that, and I'm just going to look one up, see how much they are. And then another thing that I think I've mentioned, I don't remember if I have or not, is the igniter. I'm going to get another igniter so I have a backup igniter. These heaters are so nice and they do such a good job, and they're so efficient, and you can run just about anything on them, out of them. And plus, up in the loft I still have the one that I can run diesel through, the pump motor, the entire Wayne, this entire assembly right here. I've got all of that up there in the shop, or in the loft of the shop. So I'm not going to run out of heat anytime soon. Then of course, you know, we've got the wood stove. But anyway, that's kind of what I tackled today. It wasn't a fail, but it wasn't exactly a win. I was able to get this one operational again. Just does not have enough air volume, and what will happen as a result of that is the thermodisc in there will just kick on and off and on and off and on and off, because I'll have an overtemp condition in there, because that fan is not pushing enough volume of air. So if you're going to fix it right. And since this motor is broke, so to speak, I can't hurt it by trying to repair it. And you guys know me, I don't much like to. I've always got to give it a try. Always got to give it a try. I'm gonna get this thing mounted somewhere so I don't have to sit here and hold it. Here, I'll just put it right here in the vise. Get in there. There we go. Okay. And I want a good buddy of mine. You guys need to go check out his channel. He's got all kinds of different kind of content. Heliarch, HeliaChre, HeliarChe, Heliarch, E at the end of Heliarch. He noticed that Ugly Alice has the Mack Bulldog on there. Neat story about the Mack Bulldog. The patent for it was made in 1932, if memory serves, and the gentleman that patented the Mack Dog was actually in the hospital recuperating from surgery and was bored, and so he got a bar of soap and carved the Mack Dog out of soap, and then went and applied for a patent and got a patent for the Mack Dogs. So it's kind of interesting how the story came about as far as how the Mack Dog came to be on Mack trucks. Mack Bulldog. But the one that he sent me one in the event that the one that is on Ugly Alice fails. Now it already started to fail. You guys, I told you about the repair on one of my other videos, and you guys are going to have to excuse me for a quick second. I've got to blow my nose. Hang on, I'll be right back. It's about to run off my face. Beep, beep, beep. Come on, where's it? Come on. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I just brought my GoPro Hero 3 Plus out here, so because I hadn't planned on really doing much of a video. But anyway, 1932 patented it, and I started looking through and trying to see what the differences were in them, and there were really very few changes done to them over the years. Initially, they were mounted to the radiator cap, and after the radiator cap, they were used to help tilt the cab forward, or tilt the hood forward. So they were made really rigid. The one that I've got was made maybe in the late 70s, early 80s, in that time frame, and it was no longer used to grab a hold of to pull the hood. And as a result, it's made out of really thin pot metal. This sucker right here has got to weigh 1.5 pounds. It's a freaking animal, and it's rusty and crusty, a lot like Ugly Alice is. So this is going to go on there, and this particular one is I've determined is from the 40s, and how I know that is because of the arc on the feet, how it's radiused. This would have been mounted directly to the top of the radiator cap. So that's just a little bit of history on the Mack Doggy Dog, Mack Bulldog. But at any rate, that's going to be going on Ugly Alice at some point in time. I'm not going to polish it up or do anything. The only thing I'm going to do is get the blue paint off of it that's on there from overspray. But apparently, when my buddy got it, it was on a Jeep, on the hood of a Jeep. So it probably has a pretty good story and history in and of itself on the travels that it has had. And he's out in Pennsylvania, and I'm here in Indiana, so I'm sure that when it was mounted to the semi, or would have been, I think, an AB. If memory serves, the truck would have been an AB, military truck. That could have been overseas for all we know. But anyway, that's enough of that. Just working on the heater. Came out here, do a little bit. I had to chase the threads here, clean the threads up a little bit, and I shut the heater off, about the one that's working, about 10 minutes ago, and the cold is taking over the shop in a hurry. So I'm gonna get back in the house. Besides, it's 6 o'clock, it's time for supper. This is Zippo. I'll holler at y'all later. I'm out.